like you said, the Bucks, I believe, were the first professional team in the States that said that they weren't going to play as a reaction. And that was obviously a powerful statement. I remember MLS games were starting later in that day, and it was something that very quickly permeated throughout our league where guys were willing and ready to boycott games. I think the sentiment for our guys was kind of centralized around the fact that George Floyd had just been murdered, and there were a lot of calls to action, a lot of heartfelt responses to George Floyd's murder, and then Jacob Blake so quickly after. People were fed up, and it was something that we were able to organize very quickly and effectively. It was important for the whole league to stand in solidarity simply because I think that's what's necessary in moments like those to actually do things that have long-lasting impacts. Whenever solidarity is at a very high level and there's a lot of participation, then it creates waves, and action items can actually be created on the back end of a protest or a boycott, and that's what really makes them important. It felt powerful, it felt inspiring, despite the unfortunate circumstances. And I think it kind of gave a lot of players a history mark to refer to, because it was unprecedented and uncharted territories for a lot of us players to decide within a matter of hours, and in some cases minutes, that players just simply weren't going to play. And I think to scale it outside of MLS, it was our way of standing in solidarity with the NBA, with MLB as well, and which ended up being kind of the way in which professional sports leagues were moving during 2020. And we didn't see it as anything other than us doing our part to show that our platforms matter to us, and we take them very seriously, and we take our responsibilities within our communities very, very seriously as well. There have been a lot of positives, simply because you see organizations that have been created, such as our organization, Black Players for Change. You see leagues committing more dollars, more attention, more bandwidth within their platforms to speak on issues of diversity and inclusion, and speaking on taking stances whenever there are injustices, committed to people from all walks of life. And I think that is what demonstrations, boycotts, in some cases riots, are really for change to happen. And it's something that we as professional athletes have a civic duty at times to activate, and hopefully we don't experience more injustices like a Jacob Blake or a George Floyd anytime soon. But if there are, I think professional athletes have shown that we're really willing and ready to do what we need to do. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of MLS being a league that is so diverse in so many different ways, and especially from the aspect of race and ethnicity. To see the entire league be willing and ready to boycott as far as players are concerned. For me as a Black individual in our league, it was really powerful to see, your white counterparts, your Latino counterparts, your counterparts that don't look like you, standing in solidarity with you. Really was a moment where, all players were saying that, wait, this is a human issue. And when anyone is hurting, that's typically what they want, people to just actualize, their pain, and to, have people say, hey, we understand this as a human issue, and that is simply it. Isolation is the enemy of any healing. So it's just great to see that our league can come together when need be.
I remember it pretty well. We were playing at FC Dallas, and I think the news from Milwaukee had just come basically right after we had gotten done with our team talk in the afternoon. So that was probably 3:30, 4 o'clock after our meal, and we're starting to get on the bus and get ready to go to the game. And I normally sit at the front of the bus, and there was other guys at the back of the bus, and I could tell there was a lot of conversations going on about, the Milwaukee Bucks aren't playing, and I think at that point some of the MLB teams had discussed not playing, and we were maybe an hour away from the East Coast games kicking off. And there's guys on many teams that talk to each other, text with each other. I know in the PA we had a group text from bargaining, which we had all gone through over the past couple months, and there are a few guys asking, are people going to play? Like, what's the sentiment? And I know just looking and talking to my teammates, like, guys were very upset and distraught about what was going on in the country at that time. And I could just tell that they weren't in the right headspace to play a game at that point. And I remember speaking to Kellen Acosta and Kai Kamara at the time, and I said, look guys, like, if we're not in a spot to play, or people don't feel like we should play, like, we don't have to. Like, we can organize something and make it clear that this is what we stand for. We're gonna make a statement by not playing tonight. And we talked a little bit amongst the team, and we made sure that everyone was on board with that, and everyone on our team was. And so when we got to the stadium in Dallas, the locker rooms are pretty close to each other. So I believe it was Kellen, Reggie Cannon, who played at the time with Dallas, Jimmy Maurer, who was the PA rep at that time, kind of got together outside the locker rooms and just sort of talked through where everything was at, and where their locker room was at and where ours was, where things were happening around the league. And we came to the decision that neither team thought it appropriate to play or to put on a sporting event in that moment in the country, and we ended up not playing. And I think we went on the field around kickoff time and took a picture as a group with all our shirts on, with Black Lives Matter shirts. And it's something that in my career I'm really proud of. It's something that I think we did as a collective, and I was proud to be a part of it, and I think it was the right thing to do, and I still believe it was the right thing to do. And I know it's something that was very powerful for all of our teammates, and I hope for the people who support our teams and the audiences that watch. I think, like you said, one of the most exciting parts of being in this sport is you go into a locker room and there's different languages being spoken. There's people from different races, different backgrounds, different countries. But I think at that moment, everyone understood the grave injustice that was happening at that time, and could understand, this is something that's bigger than this game tonight. This is something that's bigger than us going out on the field. And, a lot of guys, even from other countries who maybe don't understand the history of racism in our country, I felt like they understood sort of the emotional distress that their teammates were under. And I think that for them to be able to see that and to respond in solidarity with everyone in the locker room was really powerful. Yeah, I think what we've seen is that, players have a voice, and until you use that voice, you don't know what that impact is. And I think what we're seeing now and since then is that players can have a really powerful effect on societal issues, things that they believe in, especially when it's done as a collective. And that was something that came together in the course of hours. Like, it wasn't something that guys had been planning or was organized by anyone in particular. And I think that's somewhat the beauty of it, was it came together so quickly, and it made such a powerful statement that on that day, there was no sports were gonna be played. And it brought attention to the issues that we're facing in this country. And I was proud of all of our players who came together and made that statement.
So I think it was important for us to show that we can be a part of the social justice movement, that we can affect change just as much as, the Milwaukee Bucks players did earlier in that day or the day before, and kind of show how powerful of a group that we can be. And I was really proud of the guys that took a stand, and it was incredibly brave of them, because there was, for myself, I was on the couch that day, and of course I wanted them to behave one way, but it takes a lot of courageousness and bravery to kind of stand out on the ledge and kind of be exposed in that way. It was very special to see players from different nationalities all across the world, that once you explain to them what happened and kind of the history of everything, and history of police in this country, how Black people have been treated in this country, and many minority races have been treated in this country, you see a light bulb go off, like, oh, this is an important issue that, I'm on your side for this. I'm on whatever you think we should do, like, I'll follow you sort of mentality. And so I was very appreciative of the people in our locker room that, although this doesn't hit home for them in terms of in their country directly in this instance, you could see them understanding why it was an important issue for someone like me and other players that, grew up in this country. And you can see them understand that this is more than just an individual issue. It's like a human issue that we need to rectify in this country and across the world. I won't just individualize it to here, but I really appreciate their understanding and their willingness to be supportive of us. I've seen, Black Players for Change, working with the league to improve the lives of people around the country, whether it's opening up the mini pitches. We're doing great work in terms of recognizing other organizations that are helping out communities. I think we'll highlight it as part of All-Star Weekend, organizations that are doing tremendous work in the Minneapolis-St. Paul community. So I think in terms of that togetherness, we are working very well and unified in highlighting groups that are doing tremendous work in the community. It doesn't always have to be a strike or something as performative or as obvious or as striking as that, but I think we are unified in continuing to push the same message of improving on social issues in this country.